Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader. It's Sunday. I thought it would be fun to take a look at a wide range of recent sales for CGC graded comics, mainly Bronze and Copper Age, although I do have a number of modern books, a lot of Star Wars books since this channel is focused on Star Wars, but I do have a number of other lines of comics that I wanted to go through in terms of recent sales. If this intro was a little weird, it's because I played around with AI. All right. This is the best I can do with technology. I'm really not very good with computers, as you can tell by the production values of my videos, but I thought it was kind of fun to test out some different things with AI. So they even came up with the AI music, as if you couldn't tell. That was pretty terrible music, but that's what I went with. All right, let's take a look. So we got a CGC-98 for G.I. Joe #1. This is a direct edition. I've got a direct and a newsstand recent sales to give you an idea of where they're selling. I bought my copy direct 9.8. Oh, God, it's been probably 2 years now, maybe a year and a half. And I paid almost this exact same price. I paid $8.75. This one sold for $8.50 plus $15 shipping. Pleasantly surprised to see that one sell for that price. Although I think if you're patient, you can probably get it closer to $7.50 these days. But a lot of these buy it now prices, they are going to be slightly higher. And for some of the Star Wars books that we're going to get to, you'll see some pretty wide ranges for the exact same book. So that was the direct edition. The newsstand edition, little harder to find. Not hard to find, but it can be a little more difficult to find the newsstand for G.I. Joe #1. This one sold for $1,200, and again, I think if you're patient, you can probably get that between $1,050 and $1,100, somewhere in that ballpark, pretty easily if you're patient. But that one was a beautiful copy, recently graded, perfect centering, perfect colors, paying $1,200. I've seen a lot worse investments, and my comic book collection proves that. So that was a G.I. Joe newsstand. We also did have a Transformers #1 in a direct edition. That one sold for $1,200. Almost the exact same price. I think I paid $12.40 for mine over a year ago. And, you know, again, this is a buy it now situation, probably between $1,000 and $1,100 if you wait for an auction. But that's another key issue from our childhood. A 9.8 direct edition Transformers #1, first appearance of all the Autobots and Decepticons. Predator #1 is seeing a little bit of a heat map, a little bit of a resurgence. There's been talk that there's going to be a Predators Badlands, and Arnold Schwarzenegger has expressed interest in reprising his role from Predator. We'll see if that happens or not, but in the meantime, there's always a lot of Predator and Alien content out there. This is a great cover. I mean, this is an awesome book for $437, and I don't remember what I paid. It was maybe a little higher, $475, somewhere in that ballpark. But that's, to me, if you love Predator like I do, this is one of those books that you just gotta have, man. This is just an awesome lower print run book. Not hard to find in a 9.8, but you know, it's not like a Marvel book where they printed them to oblivion back in the 2000s and 1990s and things like that. This was from '89, I believe. Next up, Ultimate Fallout #4, still on my want list. I'm still holding strong on not buying anything, but Ultimate Fallout 4, the first appearance of Miles Morales, who I really love. I can't wait for the new Beyond the Spider-Verse animated movie. I love the first two. This one sold in an auction from All Things Comic Shop. Very trusted seller, by the way. I bought from this seller. $8.29. That one closed on February 25th. And this one closed right around the same time and was a buy it now for $9.49. And that kind of goes back to what I was talking about for a lot of these books. If you wait for the auction, probably going to get $100 or $150 off, depending on the book. And this is a good example of that. $8.29 in an auction, $9.49 in a buy it now situation. Now, a lot of these, this was even more freshly graded than this one. And one thing you do got to be careful of on this book is in the upper left-hand corner on the U. You see where Ultimate Fallout? On that U, by the staple, there is a factory defect where that can get rubbed or kind of crinkled. And this is a good example of that. This one has that issue on the U, and it still sold for $9.49, whereas this one was freshly graded, did not have that issue. So that's one thing to look at. It's a sneaky little thing that most people don't talk about with Ultimate Fallout 4. A number of the issues around that top staple on the U they have a fold or a crease or a scuff or something weird from the manufacturing process, CGC does not ding it for a 9/8 unless it's really bad or, something that's beyond normal factory assembly. So for me, if I'm going to spend this kind of money, I'm going to get one that's super clean like this versus one like this that has that defect. This defect's not even that bad. I've seen some that are really bad. I mean, really, really bad. So this one's a pretty minor one, but if you look at a number of 9/8s for Ultimate Fallout 4, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's on a number of different copies. So don't fall prey to that. Miles Morales' love interest. This is Edge of Spider-Verse #2, the first print. This is obviously the first appearance of Spider-Gwen. And this is an awesome book. I love this book. And I got this as a gift from my buddy Jason W. And, you can see this price, $540. That's come down a lot. This was about $1,000 book a year ago. And I bet it'll heat back up when Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out. But there are a lot of copies for this book on the sense it's not hard to find this one. There are a number of other printings, 4 or 5, I believe. But if you're going to get one, get the first print. And man, there's a 1 in 25 ratio variant that's very expensive, but this is, a great book to have for your collection. Spawn #1 direct edition signed by Todd McFarlane. And this just shows you the value, even though Todd McFarlane signs a ton of stuff. His signature on big books like Spawn #1, a Spawn #1 direct edition 9/8 blue label, it's like $100, $150, maybe $200. I haven't looked at them lately, but Todd McFarlane signed books, they really do still get a big premium. Given how much he signed, you would be surprised. I'm surprised that it gets that much of a premium, but $475 is what that one sold for a yellow label. On to the Star Wars books. We had another data point for Star Wars #1. This one sold for $3,000, 9.8 with white pages. Beautiful copy. That's, again, a top-level number. If you're patient, we've talked about in recent comic videos, 27, 26, maybe even $2,800, somewhere in that ballpark. You can probably get one of those in an auction for $2,600 to $2,800. Newsstand for Star Wars 42. This one sold in an auction. It sold for $1,000. Again, they typically do sell in buy it nows for $1,100 to $1,200. I've even seen some auctions go that high, but this one did sell for $1,000 in an auction, and mainly because it was off-white to white pages. It was not white pages. White pages probably add $100 to $200 on that one. This is another book that you got to be careful of. In this white circle, kind of between Dengar and Boba Fett, you'll see some long brown kind of streaks that were like an ink defect. So a number of 9.8s have that issue for Star Wars #42. Star Wars 68 direct edition, 9.8 white pages, $850, pretty fair deal there for a buy it now. That's about the going rate right now, $800 to $900 for a Star Wars 68, which is the first appearance of the planet Mandalore and the first appearance of Mandalorians in comics. Great book, though. On to some more modern Star Wars books. We have Knights of the Old Republic #9, KOTOR #9, first full appearance of Revan. This is, for a modern book, this is definitely one that's held up very well. This one sold for $550. That's about the fair market value on Go Collect's website right now, $500 to $550 in that ballpark. And that's a great book. I've got one in my own collection. I would pay that all day long. I wouldn't mind having a second copy, to be honest with you. I just love this cover for some reason. It just really speaks to me. I've got a bunch of different sales for Clone Wars #1, the standard cover, and then also the special edition 1,000 copy version. So for Clone Wars #1, the standard cover, this one sold in an auction for $790. This one sold for $900 in a buy it now situation. So again, this is another example of what I'm talking about. Wait for the auction. This one sold for $790 versus $900. That's $110 difference. That's a pretty significant percentage off by waiting for an auction. And this book is another one that you can find pretty quickly, pretty easily in an auction if you're patient. And then here is the special edition for Clone Wars #1. Only 1,000 copies total printed. This one sold for $37.88, which I think is a high number right now. I think if you're patient, you can probably pick this up for between $2,500 and $2,700. This one has really come back down to earth. This one was very, very expensive for a long time, but I think sub $3,000 for sure. But I think if you continue to be patient, you can probably pick it up in that ballpark, $2,500 to $2,700. On to Darth Vader number 3, the variant edition. This is obviously the first appearance of Dr. Aphra on the 1 in 25 La Rocca cover. This one sold, and I got a bunch of these. This is pretty crazy to see the price differences. All these were recent sales. $860 in an auction. This one sold for $780 in an auction, and then there was another buy it now at $995. So a massive price difference when you think about it. $860, $780, and $995. So $780 to $995. You're talking about $220 difference there in price. That's a good solid 20% price swing. All of those again were recent sales, and it's pretty incredible to see how all over the map it is. I think a good number to aim for is that $780 to $860 number. That's where they've been consistently selling. The fair market value on Go Collect's website is even higher. It's closer to $900. So if you can get it sub $900, I think you're doing very well. I think I paid about $1,000 for my copy. Next up, I've got Wolverine. Wolverine Limited Series number 1. This is the newsstand, and the way I would go if I'm going to get Wolverine Limited Series number 1 in a 9.8. There are too many of them, a lot of them, thousands of them in a direct edition, and even the newsstands, I'm sure, are very plentiful. But this book has held its value very well. $1,100, $1,200 is about the going rate in an auction. This one sold for $1,417 in a buy it now situation. Likewise, this is a tougher one to find in a newsstand because this is from the late 1980s, 1988. Wolverine number 1, the first appearance of Wolverine as Patch in the newsstand. A little tougher to find this one, and this one has definitely held its value very well. $900 to $1,000. This one sold in a buy it now for $1,000, but again in an auction I've seen them go closer to $900, even slightly below $900 if you're patient. But the newsstand Wolverine number 1 is a lot harder to find in a newsstand versus Wolverine Limited Series number 1, which is from 1982 when the newsstands were still fairly prevalent. So keep an eye out for those. Here's a direct edition for Punisher Limited Series number 1. This is a great book. This one sold at $650. I've seen this one go as low as $450 here recently. This is one I have in my own collection. Obviously, John Bernthal is reprising his role as the Punisher in the new Daredevil series. I'm super excited about that. I think it starts on March 4th. They have a 2-part series. So by the time this video likely airs, given that I kind of produce my videos a little early, Daredevil will be up and running on Disney+. I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be amazing. Next up, I've got some older books, but some big heaters. We've got Incredible Hulk number 181, the first full appearance of Wolverine in comics. This was cream to off-white pages in a CGC 8.5. That one sold for $6,000 in a buy it now, which surprised me. I've got an 8.5 white pager for this book, and I paid about $6,500. And since that time, Hulk 181 has really come back down to earth even more. So I think this was kind of an overpay, if you ask me, but not a terrible overpay. But I think if you're patient and you want about an 8.5 with white pages, I would try to aim for that $5,500 to $6,000 range. Here was a 9.0 white pager, really nice book there. That one sold for $72.85, so you can see the price difference between an 8.5 with cream to off-white going to a 9.0 white pager, and you're paying about, $1,300 difference. And then a 9.2 with white pages also sold for $77.95. This one sold for $72.85. I think for the price difference, I'd take the 9.2. Given that it's $500 price difference, I'd pay that in a heartbeat to go from a 9.0 to a 9.2. Finally, we got Giant Size X-Men number 1 in a 9.6. Very high grade. And this one did sell for $10,500. Off-white to white pages. This is the first appearance of a lot of the new X-Men like Storm and Nightcrawler, Colossus, and the second full appearance of Wolverine. So another big book. I've got this one, I can't remember, in a 9.2 or a 9.4. But this 9.6 off-white to white pager sold for $10,500. Big number there. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at recent sales across a wide range of, age bracket. But I hope that it was useful for those of you that are trying to fill in some holes in your collection. Be sure to leave me a like if you did enjoy the video. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.